Thank you, Vicky. It's my pleasure tonight to introduce Nikki Phillips, who was an exchange student here in the year 2002-2003. That was Roger Wright's year as president. That is quite some time ago. I was trying to work out her age a while back. I suppose you shouldn't do that for a lady, which is not more than I thought. So never mind. We were to be joined by host families Alan Grieve and Caroline Grieve, but it sounds like they haven't logged in. It's good to see Ken and Laurie Hicks here again. I haven't seen them for a long time. And Chrissy Jorgensen, as Boyd is away. As you may know, Vicky is from South Africa. She's made a big name for herself in photography, and that's what she'll talk about tonight. She's now married, so I'm not too sure if Nikki Phillips is the right name, but I'm sure she'll explain. So please welcome, as little as we knew her, Nikki Phillips. Thank you.
Hi everyone, it's nice to see everybody again. So I thought that I would speak a little bit tonight, I suppose it's for you guys, about editing and retouching and a little bit of my experience in the film industry. Over the last 15 years, we've had quite a broad array. My husband has owned a drone company for a long time where we filmed with big, heavy 35-kilo payload drones with big movie cameras. We did films such as Black Panther, Maze Runner, Bloodshot, so the big Hollywood action blockbusters that were shot in Cape Town. We did a lot of the aerial cinematography work for, which was a big feather in our cap. And then another thing we've been involved in is bullet time photography. So the matrix effect where people freeze in time, use a big camera array that 85 cameras all take a picture at the same time, and you play each frame after each other and you get this frozen in time effect. And aside from that, I've been heavily involved in fashion photography and online photography. What I asked everyone to do today was to give me a photo, and what I've done is I've edited them. And I've also downloaded some editing apps, some free apps, so you can edit your own photos and hopefully touch up and get the magazine cover look that we all aspire to. So I'm going to show you some before and after photos of where we've started and where we end up, but I have made a short little presentation of things that we've done over the past 10 odd years. I just need to figure out how to share my screen with you.
There should be a green button at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, I think I've got it. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So this is one of the drones that we use. In the top corner is a shot over drone. That's a 35-kilo payload drone. It takes quite a specialist pilot to fly these sort of drones, yeah, we're in South Africa, we're one of the most heavily regulated countries in the world when it comes to drones. We're not completely sure why, but we had to jump through some hoops to get these birds in the air. So this is on some film sets in Cape Town with our crew there. And then this is on one of the big sets in Cape Town as well with the support vehicle. Someone got a question? Oh, okay. And I've been very fortunate enough in being in the film industry and the photography industry to see a lot of different countries. We've been to Turkey, India, Seychelles, and is someone trying to get my attention?
No, everyone should.
Oh, okay. No, sorry, I just heard muttering in the background. I thought you couldn't hear me. And it's been, ever since I was in Australia and very fortunate enough to travel at such an early age and experience a different culture, it, I think, has been a founding part of my career later on. And while I was in Australia as well, it gave me an opportunity to explore photography without, you know, any other things that I really had to worry about, which was a great opportunity for me to establish very firmly in my mind where I wanted, what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. These are some pictures from the time slice rig, the bullet type rig. You'll see there's many little cameras, some aerials from the drone shots. And at the bottom right-hand corner is me with the team in India, where we went and filmed the whole organic cotton journey in VR. So lately, when VR first came out, I was lucky enough to be able to travel to France. I did a course there. I'm one of 11 people in the world that was qualified to stitch the VR footage in high resolution at that time. So it afforded me many unique opportunities. That's some of our team filming in the Seychelles. And that's on a big fashion shoot in London, again with the time slice rig. We took all those 85 cameras, my husband and I, two of us with, I think we had about 200 kilos of luggage, so there was a little bit of excess. But that was a very unique and exciting experience. Those big lights at the top there are actually helium-filled lights, as we can't have, because the cameras see all around in a time slice, you can't have anything on the floor, otherwise it gets into the frame. That was for the Black Mirror series. We cyberscanned Miley Cyrus. It was one of the highlights. And that is in one of the MRI rooms in the series. We also have a LiDAR scanner, which scans the what you would call the skeleton of a room. And then it goes to the VFX team, and they composite and make everything as we see it today. You would have noticed the credits in movies have, from this point forward, you get your actors and your normal unit production and managers and so on and so forth. But when the VFX lines come up, they've got 3 rows of VFX artists and painters and animators. And it's really the way that movies are going and moving is the VFX world. So we're very fortunate enough to be involved in this aspect of the filming. That's again with the Glam Cam at one of the local awards, the red carpet effect. My husband is the tall person in the middle, in the blue suit, and I'm standing next to him, and that was the rest of our team for the day. And that is at the Black Panther premiere. So one of the perks of being involved in all these nice movies is you get to go to all the red carpet events. So it's a nice excuse to get dressed up every now and again. This is an example of a baobab tree that was scanned for Sonic the Hedgehog. We went out into the Eastern Transvaal for 3 days, and we scanned these trees, which they later then composite into the film. Okay, so I'm quickly going to do a little bit of wait, sorry, I have another portfolio of just some sort of other work that I've done. Just go up to the top. Sorry. Can you still see it?
No, it's gone now.
Oh, okay.
Now it's back.
Is it back? Okay, I'm just going to have to go with the smaller screen mode. Sorry, it seems to not want to take the bigger one. So this is some of the fashion work I've done for some of the bigger designers in the country for South African Fashion Week. I'm not sure if you have a Australian Fashion Week, but we do try and mimic the London, New York, Milan Fashion Week scenes. These photographs won the Admired in Africa award last year for fashion photography. We got a gold award, so we were quite proud of those. And these are just some of the other interesting effects that we work with in the studio. Because I am very heavily involved in the equestrian sport, I'm lucky enough to be able to photograph a lot of horses. which is very nice. Got a unique understanding of those, and I do a lot of equestrian catalog photography. These are for local editorial brands, denim. So we've gone down winter editorial campaigns or magazines. This was a frame out of a time-size camera shot for SA Fashion Week. This was actually a moving sequence with this Bonang Matemba, quite a well-known celebrity in this country. And these are some other fashion editorials for Zara, some nice bikini shoots in the Seychelles. We like those. And a lot of the stuff that's been happening lately is e-com online photography. So these are shot with ghost mannequins where we deep edge or cut out the mannequin afterwards and paste in the back to give you this sort of 3D effect. And there's many different ways in which you can present your merchandise for online, depending on the client's requirement of their look and feel. So just some different examples of other work that we've done. But the location stuff is definitely the most interesting and lets you be a bit more creative. For a local perfume brand, I'm just going to go back. Can you see the previous presentation?
Yep.
The lady in, okay. So what I went and had a look at, I just want to show you some before. Can you see this, the new window?
We can see the purple lady with the black belt. Lady in the purple pool.
And changed picture now?
No, same picture.
Okay, sorry, let me just get the full screen. Sorry, let me just go to the new screen in the new window. Okay, the lady in the purple belt should have reappeared.
Yes, yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay. I just want to start with some of the pictures that some people sent me. Thank you for sending them through. So we had a bit of a, I'm going to flash through here and give you a before and after on stuff that I'm briefly going to touch on how you can enhance your own photos using the apps on your phone, or there are 1 or 2 free ones that I'm going to suggest that you can download just to add that little bit of extra. And it's not only you that would need to add extra. I'm going to show you my own photos. We add a lot of extra to these photos as well. So just a little bit of and these are all quick 5-minute edits that you can quite easily do yourself. So we changed and added a bit of the fizz in there. This one I felt needed a bit more of a glow sort of effect. So we added some grain in. We removed the spots over there. I think this was Andrew's pub image. I took a few liberties and I took a lot of the ground away, and I decided it would be a little bit more dramatic if we added in a sky. So that's a little bit of the extra added on there. I'll quickly, this was one of the nicer images to work on as there was a lot of meat. Thank you for the high-res image. And I'll quickly go through the stages that was added on here. Okay, the original image had a lot more of the tar in, but because I wanted to focus more on the sky, I added that in. So we dragged it up and we added a few more bits of the sky in. Then we added a little bit more saturation, darkened the tar to get a little bit of the attention away from there, added some blue in, brightened up the building, and I'm going to show you how to do all of this now in the phone app. Added a little bit more saturation into the sky, added some clouds, decided I wasn't going to add more clouds, added a little bit of the pink to that, another bit of a brightness, and eventually you'll see these 2 areas here were a bit distracting, so we just painted those out with the heal tool. Images start out looking more or less like this, and then we build them up and take away different aspects. We've got a lot of nice tools here called heal tools, and we eventually work up the image and build it out and paint all the distractions out. I'm just doing this quickly now to give you a rough idea. But images don't always start off the way that you see them, and movies as well. A lot of times things are filmed in Cape Town, and art department goes in the day before and puts up all these English signs and Soho, and they'll import some yellow taxi cabs to make a New York scene. So it's not, don't believe what you see in the movie. It didn't look like that to start off with. This would just give you an idea of our painting layers. So there's a lot of layers and effort and you know, retouch that worked into the end of this. This image started off looking like that. So we gave the horse a little bit of a hairdo, helped the model's hairstyle a little bit there. And I'm just going to zoom in here so you can have a look at the skin. So the skin, you need, I always like to start off with a really muddy image because there's not too much contrast or too many of the camera's ideas baked into the image. So if you have a neutral setting on your phone, that's the best place to start with it. So over here, we fixed up the blemishes, added some highlights in on the cheekbone. As I said, we gave her a bit of a hairstyle, fixed up the hair. The eye came up a bit with that, got rid of that. And then the horse got a makeover as well, but lacking in the hair department. This is also a local celebrity. So we did it. That's just with a bit of touch-up added, bring out the highlights in the garment. So that's what it started looking like, and we take out the thumb shadow. Okay, so this was quite an interesting one. There's a lot that we had to bring back in this image. So that's what it started off as, and that's where we ended. The important part with these is to always have a good piece of material to start off with, because that's where you, if you don't have good material to start off with, you're not going to get very far in the editing process. So this is a before and after. This was done on a phone, on the free apps. So I'm quickly, unfortunately, the phone doesn't seem to link to Zoom. So I'm going to go through the screen grabs of the different editing parts on the photo and the results and the steps so that you can follow them and touch up your own portraits. So I'm just going to go back to the other presentation. Sorry. Okay, so we're back over here again. That's the original image, as I showed you on the other screens. Then, okay, and that's where we're going to land up. So this is a really nice free app. It's got a whole bunch of add-ons that you can buy, but I found with the free ones to start off with, you could do something quite nice. Okay, so the first thing that I, had a look at was the blemishes on the skin was not great. And so we used this smooth tool over here. You basically tap with your finger on the phone and you skim over the area you would like to smooth. So you basically just rub the smooth over the area that you'd like to smooth, and it really does a great job of blending. Over here, you can adjust your brush size if it's a small area, and because if you use a brush that's too big, you're going to start blending a bit of the blue. So then once you fixed all the blemishes in the face, moved over, and it was, I think, if you would like to use slim tool. Again, you just nudge out, select your slim tool, and you'll, on the photo, drag it in. And you can see we can just nip in the waist a bit over there. It was not necessary for this model. I just did it as an example. So not everyone looks like they do once they appear on the magazine covers. The next tool is a contrast tool. So then you go into your adjustment tools, which normally looks like 3 sliders on top of one another. And this is where you can adjust your brightness, your contrast, your shadows, your highlights, and a little bit of tone color. I know a lot of people are very conscious of their red face. If you add a little bit of a green tint in on a red face, you'll find that the color very quickly neutralizes and you have a very nice skin tone again. This particular app is quite nice. It already has skin tones that you can decide that you want to enhance. So there we just add a little bit of contrast in to get a bit more punch. And after I was happy with where my blemishes and my skin tones had retouched to, I sent it to a different app, which is called Adobe Photo Express. It is also free. We use Photoshop to do all the high-end editing, but this is a really great little tool that's free and works on all phones. So you'll see in the previous image, it's quite distracting up at the top corner with the pool. I didn't feel that it added anything to the image, so I decided to take it out. And in Adobe Express, you get a little tool called a heal tool, which works very nicely in taking this distracting paving out. And all you do is you double tap with your finger on this area, and it will average out what is in most of the image around the area that you're tapping into and replace it with that. And as you can see over there, there was a little blemish which we took out as well. In the Adobe elements, you can select your whole image that you can apply the filter to, or you can apply it to your subject matter only, or you can apply it to the background. And what I found is quite nice, if you make your background a little bit darker and your subject a little bit lighter, it tends to add a nice contrast and makes everything pop a little bit. So this is in the light section. Here, all of these tools will pop up in the adjustments. Make sure that before you put any art filters onto your image, that the image looks good as a normal image, because no amount of art filters are going to take an image that's not already looking good to that extra something amazing. So that's the difference between the lights and the contrast and the highlights. And there again, I selected the background and decided to make it a little bit darker, a little bit bluer. So here we selected the background, the blocks in the background, and I took the temperature and just made it a little bit bluer for the water. And on the next frame, we took the tint and added a little bit of magenta into the subject matter, just to give them a little bit of a difference and set them apart from each other. It creates a nice depth in your field. Okay, and then after that, you can feel free to apply your special effects filters and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, you start off with an image that starts there, and with a phone app and about 5 minutes worth of editing, you can get it looking like that. Does anyone have any questions on images? Or
I'm sure they will have at the end, Nikki.
okay, I'm more or less done.
Oh, Well, let's go to questions then. Yes, everybody, we'll go back to the screen. I'm sure someone's got some questions. If you've got a question, unmute yourself, introduce yourself if you haven't met the lovely Nikki, and go for your live.
Yeah, Graham Lukins here, Nikki. Thank you for
Hi,
that.
so I'm trying to find you all again.
Thank you for that. I was just wondering, with that image work that you do there, does it matter if the image is in JPEG or is it a raw file?
It does matter. So the raw image has got a lot more information in it. If you can imagine, the raw image is 4 bricks, 1, 2, 3, 4, and each is a different color. What the JPEG image is 1 brick. We're taking the average of the 4 and combining it into 1. So your raw image has a lot more latitude to fine tune or to fix something that went wrong. If possible, but you know, storage is always a problem. Shooting raw does give you a lot more latitude when editing your images to be a bit more creative, and it stops the image from falling apart so quickly. You'll find a lot of the times if you add a lot of saturation or you make dark image really light, you'll start getting noise, and the image starts to disintegrate and become very pixelated. You'll find that you've got a lot more scope to change stuff on a raw image. So if you can shoot raw, definitely do that. But in saying that, it's not always the raw versus the JPEG. It's actually the if you're shooting with a camera, it's the quality of the lens that is on your camera. It's not necessarily the chip or a fancy DSLR camera. If you're going to make a choice, always go for the best lens that you can buy.
Okay. Thanks, Nikki.
Any other questions?
I've got a question. Nikki,
Yep.
It's Paul Robbins. A couple of those photos were the ones I sent to Graham. Does this mean that I'm never going to be happy with a photo I ever take again without having the modify?
That's exactly why I gave you the tool, so that you can be happy.
So, Nikki, are you ever happy with this photo that you take without adjusting it?
So I am, but then it's like starting. It's like making a dress. You need to, in order to get the dress, you need to. I view it very much as a 2-part process, and it's never going to reach the end if you don't edit it. So you can start with a really great roll of material, but you're never going to get the dress at the end. And similarly, if you don't have a really great piece of material, you're never going to get a good dress at the end. So very much my workflow and my processes, the two are very important to each other.
Thank you.
Nikki, were you always interested in photography?
Yes. It's ever since I was maybe 5 or 6. All the dogs, their little Insta cameras, all the dogs' pet portraits. There were many of those. It's just a little bit more, with the digital age, the gratification is a lot more instant, which is nice.
You've made a fabulous career out of it, that's for sure. So well done.
Thank you.
So Nikki, it's Andrew here. Thank you for your presentation, and thank you for making the Birdsville Hotel looking a lot more, I guess, nice, which is lovely anyway. You did mention a couple of free apps that we could look at. So I wrote them down. I've got Beauty Plus. Is that one of them? Beauty.
Yes, that was the first one that I used to do the. You can do some nice face contouring. You can do skin adjustments, blemishes, which was I found that app particularly nice for that. Whereas the Adobe app was better with the color adjustment. Sometimes you just need to fiddle a little bit and use go between the two.
And the other one was the Adobe Photoshop Express.
Yes, that works. That's a free app and it works on mobiles. I've got an iPhone. It worked on that. I'm sure it'll work on an Android phone.
Yeah, I do most of my photo editing on my computer, one I'm using right now.
Okay.
And I find that giving it more contrast and brightening up the image and then cropping it and brightening up the image and also it makes it quite simple to upgrade the image to something that you're much more happy with. So I guess would the Adobe Photoshop Express be also suitable for a laptop computer?
I haven't tried it on there, but you do get a smaller Adobe. It's called Adobe Elements or Photoshop Elements.
Yes.
And I think it's a few dollars a month. It's a cloud-based program, and that gives you a bit more scope. I can do a more in-depth presentation on something like that if people are interested. I just for this particular one, thought everyone has access to a phone, so it's very relevant to
That's
everyone.
fine. Well, thank you very much for showing us all the tricks. Wonderful. And just one last question: when you okay, it's all very well to take the photo and then to shop it, if you like, and get it to a point where you're happy with it. What about the staging? Is that part of the skill as well?
Sorry?
The staging of the photo, like you've got the people on the diving board. Or
Yes.
is that what you do?
Yes, it is very important, and especially when you are dealing with very automatic cameras, you've got to give them a situation that they're going to favour and that they're going to like. So the more you know about how to manipulate a situation, and you know, sometimes the difference is walking 2 meters further or walking 2 meters backwards will make the difference in your image. But knowing how to set something up is very important. In the film industry, we call it art department.
Okay, so what I mean, it's very artistic to choose, like with that econ photo of the shoes. You had one upside down and then one side on, and then.
Yes.
So is that the decision you make when you set up the photo, or do you?
It depends on the client. On a smaller production, I'll do it myself. On big productions, we have creative and art directors where they will direct the creative vision, and as the photographer, it's my job to technically execute what they have in their head. So sometimes it involves a lot of mind reading, which gets a little bit exciting. But it depends on the production and the size of the production as to who would be in charge of that. In the movie industries, it's almost always there will be a different person in charge of that. And in the photography industry, where we're a little bit smaller, sometimes the photographer will do a lot of the work, and sometimes we don't.
Thank you.
In the movie industry, Nikki, who's one of the most interesting people you've met?
Sure, there have been so many. Sure, off the top of my head. I can't think of the top of my head now, but what I have appreciated in the movie industry is how nice many of the celebrities and people that you work with are, and how normal they are. So it's very refreshing to know that these are actually, you know, they're also just you know, normal people that you can sit and have a conversation with. Miley Cyrus was an absolute gem. She was lovely to work with. And it's a shame, she was on set 2 days after her house just burnt down. So it was, I'm just trying to think now. I can't, you caught me, Vicky, off the top of my head, who would be the most influential.
Nikki, could I ask a question again? How has the COVID-19 affected your business?
It's been very slow. I've, especially with the more creative stuff, I've been lucky that I do a lot of online work, and everyone has now gone from a physical store to an online store. So people that didn't have images yet have luckily all, you know, sort of started requesting to build up online catalogs, which is, and we have a drop and go studio, which works quite well. So they drop the product off and shoot it on a white background, and then send it back to the client again. And sometimes we have a Zoom or a Skype shoot, so the client's involved in the shoot where there is a little bit of art direction, and they can say yes, no, maybe let's try something different. So it's I've been in a fortunate position, luckily.
Yeah, thank you.
Expanding on
Oh, sorry, Vicky. Sorry. It's Laurie here from.
You go first.
Thank you. Hello, Nikki. It's Laurie and Ken.
Yeah.
How
Hi,
are
I
you?
can't see you. I've like lost all my little people. I can only see one at the top. But hi, how are you?
Oh, really, really well.
Yeah. Congratulations on your career.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nikki, we know you've got a great, thank you for your presentation too. It's been really, really interesting about photography, but we know you've also got a great interest in equestrian and horses, and we'd love to hear that side as well. So would you like to tell us about that?
Yes, so I have been involved again since I came back from Australia. I think about 2 years after that, I got involved in the horse industry again. And I went to go and do a charity shoot for a horse charity, Thoroughbred Rescue Association. And I came back with a horse. His name was Honey, or Just a King was his formal name. And he was a little thoroughbred off the track that I just took because I felt sorry for him. And we started schooling him. And he just kept on getting better and better and better. And he eventually beat all the fancy warm bloods and made it to a training level which is just below what's required for the Olympics. So we were very chuffed with a little, I don't know what you would have paid for him in dollars, but he was a little 3,000 Rand pony, which is not very much. And he went very far. And unfortunately, he had an accident in the stable and killed himself. So I have another new horse that I'm starting with now, and it's a very humbling experience to go back to the beginning of the training book again. But she's getting there and she's coming on, so we'll see what we have in store for her.
Nikki, it's Ken. From my memory of you, I think you're also interested in wild animals, and you're from Transvaal, was it? Or where were you from? Transvaal?
Yes, I grew up out in the
You're a long way out.
areas. Yes.
Yeah.
So the bush is part of my home.
Yeah. Since we saw you then, what I've done, and Laurie's been with me, is we've done a lot of crocodile research up at Cape York, where we actually trap a crocodile, pull it in, jump on it, no tranquilizers, put in equipment that we can follow it with, like satellite and acoustic, and then jump off again. And so actually worked with Steve Owen in that. And as you were saying, it's pretty good experience sometimes to work with people like that.
Yes, and it opens up and it gives you a whole different world and viewpoints on things. So it's a privilege to be able to be involved in that type of industry, I think. And well done on the crocodiles. You're braver than me. We did a time-slash shoot of some cobras once, and the snake handler only had one leg. And so I wasn't taking any chances when they said, you've just got to stand still if the snake gets off the table. So I spent the entire shoot on top of a chair. So I don't think I would have coped with the crocodiles.
Yeah. One of my biggest kicks, and it's just recently, is that there's a couple of hundred crocodiles under surveillance, and they've just named one after me. So I'll be so we'll be able to follow that through on there's a program where you actually have crocs in space. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so you have to come and we'll take you up to Cape York.
No, that'll be it. A trip back to Australia is due soon, I think.
Okay.
One day when we can get on an airplane and go somewhere again.
That's right. Yeah. Great. You're looking wonderful too.
Yeah.
She's beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah, everyone's looking great. I was a bit worried.
Nikki, following on from Paul's question about COVID, how is it in the country?
The rest of the country.
Yeah.
It's a very sad situation. Unfortunately, we have a government that continually lies to us they take money that was meant for poor people that didn't have money for food during the lockdown period. We had one of the harshest lockdowns in the world. It was completely uncalled for and ridiculous. But things are pretty bad and pretty destitute at the moment. It's, my mom is quite politically involved in a lot of the ward areas, and it's a very sad situation on what this whole lockdown has caused in terms of people's livelihoods. Businesses that were around for 26, 30 years have all closed. I'm sure Australia is maybe experiencing similar things, but there were a lot of people. And most of this population, it seems, was actually living hand to mouth. So the 5 weeks that they weren't able to work caused a lot of heartache, and yeah, it's. I wouldn't even know where to start with the amount of problems that it's caused.
Oh dear, that's sad.
It's quite sad.
Has anybody else got any more questions so we can finish on a high note? Okay, well, Phil, would you like to pass our thanks on to Nikki, please? Unmute yourself, Phil. Right. Now, unmute, Phil.
You'll have to unmute yourself. We can't hear you.
There we go.
Okay, that's better.
Thank you, Nikki, for a very enthralling talk. You've certainly gone a long way since you were in Australia as a young lady. It's great to see you well into the fashion industry. I like the drones, the big drones you're using for the film industry. They look real impressive. I'd like to see one of those one day. Our photos will never be the same again. I still like the automatic feature on our camera. That will do me for the that will do me. That's the trick for all I need. So once again, on behalf of everybody, I'd like to thank you for your presentation tonight. So if you'd like to go down the bottom of the screen, there's a big, there was a big thumbs up somewhere. I can't see that now. So thanks again on behalf of everybody. Oh, there it goes, big thumbs up sign. Okay, thanks a lot, Nikki, and we'll see you soon one day.
Thank you. Bye. Nice to see everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Well done. Thank you, Nikki. Those of us that are friends of Nikki's on Facebook will see how well she's doing too, which is really good. So we've got some directors' reports. I know Tony Sporton would like to speak. Tony, can you unmute yourself and go for it?
Yeah, it takes me a little while to find it, Nikki. I was looking on this